It's April 30th, 2020. The vast majority of cities and towns in the US are under lockdown, enduring the worst pandemic of modern history, COVID-19. The chaos within global supply chains is unbearable, shaking the foundations of international trade. Thousands of ships are stranded at sea or in ports, unable to navigate due to travel restrictions and a lack of employees. With more than 80% of trade happening by sea, a major partner that can challenge the distance between Asia and North America became essential. Up until 2020, China was the largest importer of goods to the US. The disruption, coupled with the ongoing US-China trade war, reshaped the landscape of American imports. The need for a China alternative was imminent, and Mexico has risen to become the top supplier to the US, pushing China to third place, even below Canada. Mexico is the new China is no longer just a fantasy phrase. It's a reality. Join us to discover how Mexico has replaced China as the main exporter of goods to the US. The rate of China's industrial growth is unmatched in history. In the last 4 decades, China has established itself as a global superpower. In the 1970s and 1980s, China initiated economic reforms, embracing market-driven principles. Small towns and port cities turned into industrial hubs, and demand for Chinese products grew exponentially. With its vast and skilled workforce, China attracted foreign investment, particularly drawn to its special economic zones, offering tax incentives and reduced regulations. China's robust infrastructure, including extensive transportation networks, facilitated efficient production and exporting. During the 1990s and early 2000s, the US became a significant importer of Chinese products, driven by the quest for cheaper goods. China's low production costs, primarily attributed to lower wages, fueled this trade relationship. In the early 2000s, as China's economy began to benefit from its exporting activity and external investments, its GDP grew at record levels, improving the quality of life for Chinese residents. As you can imagine, the labor costs, once very cheap, began to rise, at least unfavorable for American companies that constantly demand lower production costs. Cheap labor was no longer a unique advantage for the Asian superpower. The late 2000s witnessed a shift as the US explored other manufacturing alternatives. The US-China trade war exacerbated tensions, leading American companies to diversify their supply chains. The initial tariffs aimed to address what the US saw as long-standing unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft. By 2022, China's share of total US goods imports had decreased from 22% to 18% compared to pre-COVID data. In contrast, imports from the rest of the world surged, highlighting a significant shift in sourcing strategies by US companies. Amidst this backdrop, Mexico and Canada have emerged, taking advantage of being adjacent countries as increasingly vital trade partners of the US. The USMCA, which replaced NAFTA in 2020, fostered a more integrated and favorable trading environment within North America. Mexico, in particular, has benefited from the realignment of supply chains. The proximity of Mexico to the US means no more long days of sea shipping are needed. The significance of this in travel time is shocking. The travel time by ocean for a ship from the port of Shanghai to the port of Los Angeles is 18 days. This is a best-case scenario, as a broken supply chain can heavily affect processing times. In contrast, the travel time from Monterrey, a major manufacturing hub in Mexico, to McAllen, Texas, is less than 3 hours, or a 10-hour drive to the largest metropolitan city like Dallas. The lead time when using Mexican goods is unbeatable. Mexico offers lower and skilled labor costs, an advantage that was unique to China just a few years ago, and a well-developed manufacturing infrastructure. These factors, combined with the logistical advantage of proximity, reduce lead times and transportation costs, enhancing supply chain efficiency. Geopolitical tensions and ongoing global supply chain disruptions have underscored the importance of diversification. Mexico and the USA are clear winners from this new trading agreement. Mexico as an exporter, and the US benefiting from production that could cost more than double in US territory. As Mexico becomes a super partner for the US, countries around the globe are engaging with the Mexican government to benefit from nearshoring. As the saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them. China has also begun investing in Mexico to maintain its market share in the United States. This strategic move, known as nearshoring, aims to bypass potential tariffs and trade restrictions by producing goods directly in their plants in Mexico for the U.S. market. The influx of Chinese companies setting up manufacturing operations in Mexico is facilitated by initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative, a massive infrastructure project created by the Chinese government. China has started investing in projects in Mexico to retain the USA market, creating a ripple effect in Mexico's growth. On one side, U.S. companies are heavily investing resources to produce in Mexican territory. On the other hand, China is creating additional hubs and plants to produce their goods on Mexican soil to be imported to the U.S., bypassing U.S. tariffs by routing goods through Mexico. The shift towards Mexico is evident in import data. Import bookings from China to Mexico have doubled since 2019, outpacing those to the U.S. by 40%. According to recent data from the U.S. Census Bureau and the Bureau of Economic Analysis, Mexico's exports to the U.S. reached a record $38.04 billion in January 2024. This was Mexico's highest ever revenue total for January exports, positioning Mexico as a significant replacement for China in U.S. imports. China's developers are now building industrial parks in Mexico to host Chinese companies. Hofusan Industrial Park, about 25 miles north of Monterrey, is a converted 2,100-acre ranch housing manufacturing plants for 10 Chinese companies with a total investment of $1 billion over the past 3 years. Hofusan is expected to grow to 35 businesses over the next 2 years and employ up to 15,000 Mexican workers, more than half the size of the population of the nearest town. Parks like this are on the rise across Mexico. US-based companies like Johnson & Johnson, Tesla, Ford, Caterpillar, and General Motors are only few that have set base in different regions of Mexico. Monterrey has become a focal point for these investments, known for its industrial base. Monterrey has seen substantial growth with new manufacturing plants being established. Tesla announced their Gigafactory in Monterrey, expected to produce electric vehicles for the North American market. Elon Musk announced that the $15 billion investment is set to start producing electric vehicles by 2026. Chinese companies are following what their American counterparts already started. For example, Lingong Machinery Group, a major Chinese manufacturer of heavy construction equipment, is investing $5 billion in a greenfield factory in Nuevo León. Similarly, Trina Solar and BYD Auto are making significant investments in the region, with plans to build factories and assembly lines to cater to both local and international markets. Mexico is on the rise, rapidly transforming into a pivotal player in the global supply chain. With its competitive labor costs, skilled workforce, and advanced infrastructure, Mexico is emerging as the prime alternative to China for manufacturing and trade. The influx of investments from Chinese companies and other global manufacturers, especially in industrial hubs like Monterrey, highlight Mexico's strategic importance in the evolving landscape of international commerce. Mexico as the new China is not just a phrase, it's a new reality. The country's proximity to the U.S. market, coupled with tariff-free access under the USMCA, has made it a magnet for companies seeking to reduce risks associated with U.S.-China trade tensions. Record-breaking export figures and a surge in nearshoring efforts underscore Mexico's escalating role in global manufacturing. However, Mexico must navigate several challenges to fully match China's distribution strength. Enhancing infrastructure, addressing security issues, and streamlining regulatory frameworks are essential to attracting and sustaining foreign investment. Additionally, maintaining competitive labor costs and ensuring supply chain stability will be crucial for long-term success. Despite these hurdles, the momentum in Mexico is undeniable. The country's strategic initiatives are yielding remarkable results, setting the stage for a prosperous future. As Mexico continues to seize these opportunities, it is poised to become an even more formidable force in global manufacturing and trade. The world is watching, and Mexico is ready to lead.